Hello there, Internet. Steve here again with another Unity Asset Store review. Today we are going to be looking at the Lordenfel Castles and Dungeons RPG pack by Mana Station. At the time of writing this pack retails for $119.99 USD. So we'll just say $120 USD. It supports all three rendering pipelines. I will be running this in HDRP for the purpose of this particular review. So let's go down my criteria. As a reminder, I do pass-fail. Everything is either good enough or it is not for any of these any of these exceptions criteria. So very first one is quality. Yeah, it's pretty. It is definitely a very pretty asset. Running in HDRP, the texture work is really good in my opinion. The quality passes, easily passes. Modularity and workability. I talk about this quite a bit in the prefabs, but yeah, it is a hyper modular asset. The way that they do the modularity allows you to build a lot of variance in your configurations for your levels and stuff like that. So yeah, I do think the modularity and workability is 100% a pass. It is very, very intelligently done, and it allows you to build a lot of really cool, unique environments with a minimal amount of prefabs. Support and serviceability. Pass. There is one thing that you'll notice in the second demo scene, and it's actually it happens right before I actually cut the video, but I get stuck in geometry and it acts weird and won't let me get out. I haven't been able to figure out why that happened. I did throw down, like I'm thinking it's an artifact in the demo scene itself, and probably due to something that I had to do with their pre-configured, demo scene to make my character controller work. Not that I do much, but I do have to disable certain things in the demo scenes in a lot of these. If there's like cameras and other culling, effects and stuff like that already built in, because my character controller has those things in it. So like it's usually minimal when I have to do that. But sometimes if I miss something, it is what it is. Because I did recreate the same setup where I got stuck in the geometry, just with the assets outside of there, and it didn't happen. So I'm thinking it's something with the demo scene specifically, not something that you should be worried about if you're considering this asset. That aside, I mean, yeah, it's perfectly fine on that. So then the final one, value. So $120 is a lot of money. That's definitely getting up into the I expect perfection area of cost for especially an art asset, but really any asset for that matter that I'm going to be paying money for. There are a couple of complaints that I have about like the duplication of prefabs, which you'll see me whine about that a little bit in the prefab section of this video. But that aside, I mean, I think the value is there. I will give it a pass on this, because even though there's not like a billion prefabs, you don't need a billion prefabs for this sort of asset. Like the way that they were modularized is, like I said earlier, very intelligent. It's very intelligently done, and you're able to build a lot of cool shit with this, a lot of cool environments without the need of like a bunch of extra egregious prefabs. So even though the amount of prefabs is lower than you would normally see for an asset pack of this cost, what you can do with those prefabs is very, very vast. So yeah, in my opinion, it absolutely passes when it comes to value as well. So pass, 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 pass. Those are my 4 criteria on this. We will dive into the demo scenes next. There are 2 demo scenes. One is a shorter one. It's a Sky Temple or something like that. And then the second one will be a little bit longer. That's going to be the like the overgrown ruins or something like that. I mean, the names really don't matter. But there are 2 demo scenes we're going to run through. One is longer, one is shorter. And I will see everybody over there in the first demo scene.
All right, and we are back. So this is the first of 2 demo scenes. This is the Skyhold or Sky Fortress demo scene. So I'm going to do a quick run through of this one, and then we will go into the larger one of the 2. I should go around here. So as a reminder, I am running this in HDRP. These little coves, broken, boxes. There will be more stuff to sort of really dive into in the other scene, but or the other demo scene. We'll do this real quick. Lots of scaffolding and stuff like that, which is nice. Let's run up here. Okay, see just the culling is a little wonky there. Alright, let's run here. So lots of boxes and stuff like that. You'll see this more when we go into the prefab section, but I do think the way that they modularize this is pretty good. Like I said, we'll dive into that more when we actually get into that specific part of, specific part of the video. So I think I'm going to cut this demo scene because that side is pretty much the same. I think I'm going to cut this demo scene, and then we'll go into the other demo scene because that's just a larger demo scene in general. And then I will go through that, and then we'll go to the prefab. So I'll see everybody over there in the next demo scene. And we are back here in the Overgrown Ruins demo scene that they were kind enough to provide. So you'll see a lot of the same types of prefabs in here for like the actual walls and stuff like that. But just going through this demo scene shows a way that you can really use all of the prefabs in different configurations to make just a really neat, unique levels in general. And you're also going to see additional prefabs in here that were also not in the other scene. So you'll see like the chests and stuff like that, which again were not barrels, stuff like that. There are set pieces in here that were not in the other scene. So, but just in general, like the ability to really make all sorts of different unique configurations with this asset, I think is really good. Let's go back over here. There's a few different types of chests and stuff like that exist in here. And the detail in here is, in my opinion, really quite good. Even when you get in close, it's still good texture work, in my opinion. So yeah, just the sheer variety that you can build with the way that they modularize the assets, I really do appreciate. This is going to be the entryway again. That's where we came in over on that side, and this is going to be where we came in at the beginning. Hop up here. And like I said, we'll go through the modularization of this stuff in the prefabs folder, but yeah, we'll go through all of that at that time when we actually get to that point in the video. So I think. That's kind of, you can kind of see the, God rays coming through there, which is nice to see. A bunch of back rooms here and stuff. This is a very very intelligently done demo scene as well, in my opinion. There's a lot of cool nooks and crannies in here and stuff, which, I got stuck there. Ah, crud. Alright, well, I don't know what happened there, but maybe we'll just end it. Oh, let's see, can I get myself out here? Alright, I'm not sure what happened there, so maybe we'll end this one there, and then we'll go over to the prefab. So I will see everybody over there. Alrighty, and we are back with the prefabs now. So as you can see, this is the top level prefab folder. We've got it broken down into 5 different folders: vegetation, rocks, props, particles, and architecture. We'll start with vegetation first. So there is a subfolder in here. We'll go into that. These are going to be grass specifically for the purpose of inside of dungeons. So between, the cracks in the floor and walls and stuff like that. So more sporadic. As you can see, there are LODs on these, which is nice. Those sorts of quality of life things are always nice to see. So yeah, you just have these like clustered ones. So let's back out then. Let's go to the highest level here. So a fair amount of trees and stuff like that. Still everything has LODs on it, which is nice to see. So I'm just gonna sort of go through most of these by clicking. I'll rotate some of them. So you've got actual branches that you can add on or subtract to make even more unique trees, or on the ground. If you have a situation where you have like a crafting and gathering system, you could use those that way as well. So then we're getting into bushes. So there's a decent amount of bushes, both leaved and unleaved. They all have LODs, which is nice to see. We got some ferns. I think the coloration on these two are different. So the configuration on these two looks the same, doesn't it? Yeah, that's the coloration. Okay. So got a bunch of grass options that are supposed to be used outside of the cave. So if we plop these down, they're going to be a lot more compacted and stuff like that. Come on, there we go. So a lot of different foliage options. So we got some grass with flowers there and stuff like that. I don't know if you can really see that well, but you got some flowers on the tips of those grasses. Then you're getting into ivy. So to dress up your to dress up your actual walls and stuff like that. Lots of ivy solutions, so that's also nice to see. And then you have small little, interior plants, essentially 3 of those guys, and then some more branches, or no, sorry, not branches, sorry, roots rather. So you got some roots there. So that's it for the vegetation. Let's look at the rocks. So a decent amount of rock solutions, again, all LODs. So good job, developer, thinking ahead on that stuff. What is this? So yeah, like I actually think that these rocks are good. They're varied enough where you can really do some cool stuff with them. So that's always nice to see. You got the flat rocks, or the flat bottom rocks. Oh, excuse me. You've got actual. These would probably be used more for background mountainscapes, but I guess you could use them outside of that. But usually, you'd want to, like, for an actual terrain for a level, you'd usually want to use a terrain, some sort of terrain generation. So to me, these are more for like background than anything. These mountain range ones, and then we got some small rocks. So these are the larger cliff rocks, and these are going to be smaller, smaller multi-purpose rocks. And a decent amount of structural configurations with these two, in my opinion. A few different sort of pebbles clumped together. Actually, let's do this real quick. I just want to see something. I think these are, so these are all just one piece. These aren't broken up, but they have the LODs on them. So, all right. This one. Look at these guys real quick. So, ground dressing pile of rocks. All right, that's it for the rocks. Let's look at particles real quick, just because there's only 3 of them. You're not going to really be able to see them here all that well. But there we go. So you have a fire one. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see the fog. You really can't see the fog. And then you've got the candle fire, so specifically for the candles. All right, let's go back to the props now, because there's a handful of these. So wait for them to load here. We'll start going down the list. So you got your chest. I believe, let's open this guy up real quick. Yep, so it is separated. So it's nice to see. Then you have your LODs on both the lid and the chest separately. That is how it should be. So you can animate that if you would so desire. You've got a bunch of different door options. These were the larger doors that were like to the front of the castle. These are going to be more of the side doors. Then you've got your actual graded doors, and these are, as you guys probably saw when I walked through the one that was already pre-opened, the door is a separate piece, so you can animate those guys as well. That's the case on both of these. All right, go here. You got your top archways, so the tops of the archways. I can't remember. These guys are not. These guys do not have interiors, so there's no lid for the barrels, unfortunately, for that one. Piles of barrels in different configurations. That's cool, if you just want to deploy stuff real fast. I personally prefer to use something like this, because even just for pooling and stuff like that, this sort of thing makes it a lot easier. But that's a purely personal preference thing. The other thing is, so this is all one mesh. So even if you wanted to use these, if you were using like an inventory system where kind of like in Morrowind, for example, right, where you just go to the thing and you click on it. If you're using scriptable objects or something, you slap that on here. You're not going to be able to make each one of these individual barrels a different scriptable object-based, inventory for players to pick through. You'd have to have this whole cluster as just that. So, I don't really I wouldn't see myself personally using that in anything that I would make, like from here to here. But again, it's nice. It's nice that the developer offers those things, because it does make things a little bit easier sometimes for people building stuff that don't necessarily care about that the same way that I do. Excuse me. So we got a bench here. A few different brazzers, or however you say that. So floor-based ones, and then you've got ones that are actually on posts here. This is where that fire VFX would come into play, and I think they do not add it in here. Yeah, they apparently don't add it in there. Okay. Oops. There we go. All right. Bucket. A few different candlesticks with various degrees of having candles or not. Chandeliers, candles, and sans candles. Chandelier without the actual thing. Chandelier. Excuse me. Okay, so this one is actually going to have allegedly it says it's lit, so one would think that there would be a FX on here. I don't see the FX on here, so that's unfortunate. All right. So a couple of those guys, individual candles specifically, just freestanding candlesticks with and without candles, wall-based candlesticks with or without candles. You've got a cool little chair here. Got a stool. For some reason, they do this. You can literally just use the chest up here, and then just remove it for that instance if you need that, but is what it is. Crates, I don't think these guys are. I think this is, yeah. So this, oh, no, this does have an interior. Well, that's interesting, because I don't think you can, yeah, there's no way to take the lid off of here. Well, that is certainly interesting that there's an interior on there. All right, so open top crates, got a couple of different options for those, and then you've got broken crates in some form of disarray. Maybe that's why they did it. They just used the same model for that. And then you have actual lids for these crates. So this is more what I would expect versus like this, and then also having this. That doesn't make as much sense as doing it like this way, but whatever. So a couple of different shelving units. You've got a ladder, a longer ladder. You've got the doors that go into these guys here, but again, you have them with this too. So I think that's sort of a redundant prefab, if I'm being completely honest, because you can literally just remove it from the instance and the scene with those. All right, you got some spike traps, individual spikes for those traps. I got a table, a couple of these guys, so more candlesticks, torches, more torches. I like that this is separate, if I'm being honest, because then you can put them as accent pieces as well, which was done back then. And then you have the individual sides of each door as well, which, again, not sure why they did that when you have the full doors up here, because these are also, as you can see, left and right. So I think there's a little bit of redundancy with a couple of these props, but nothing egregious in my opinion. So now we get into the architecture. So as you can see, there is a lot of subfolders in the architecture. So let's go here first. So these are going to be like, for effectively safety railings, for lack of a better term. And there's a decent amount of options for these. Let's go to the bridges. So, yeah, definitely intelligently modularized with these. Intelligently modularized with these. So these are just wider variants of those. the actual bridge, quote unquote railings, for lack of a better term. So you have an angled one for the actual, if you would like to make those bridges angled downward. So you've got your actual pillars here for them, a few different options for those. And here's your angled bridges. You've got the wider one, so you can kind of see the difference between the two if I turn them. So you have a wider one and a thinner one. So let's go to the columns. Lots of parts for these, and these are, I think, very intelligently modularized. I'm actually just going to click through these quickly so you can see them. I don't want to spend too much time on these guys because I think you get the picture with how most of these are going to work. I will point out a couple of them like this where there's battle damage or something like that, or some level of decay that's worth pointing out. But for most of these, I'm just going to go through so you can get the picture of what the designs are for them that way, I believe. You've got the individual parts. You've got actual interior columns, which is nice, of different heights and stuff like that, different heights and widths. You're starting to get into here, so you got ways to make your own versions of these as well. So again, modularized in ways that I tend to like to see. You've got these guys, so for the actual corners, you can slap this into one of the corners, and it just gives it a little bit of extra uniqueness that you otherwise wouldn't necessarily have. Because again, you want players to have at the very least, you want to give players the illusion of a unique level and unique set pieces. Otherwise, it tends to break the suspension of disbelief for the player. All right, so I'll open these, but these are kind of just like specifically for different assets. So you've got pre-gen rooms and stuff like that. Done gen is a procedurally generated rather. Procedurally generating would be the right way to put that. Asset that you can buy. It's really good for stuff like if you wanted to make like a game like the Warhammer Quest game or something like that, where you have like very, very specific fixed tile sets, for lack of a better term. Then that asset does an amazing job of generating out stuff like that. I do own that asset. Like, I do eventually plan to go through scripting and template asset reviews. It's just those take a lot more time, especially to do in any sort of meaningful way. So I do want to make sure that when I do those, I have enough time to dedicate to them and actually can do it justice. So here we have doors that we already saw in one of the other folders. I don't really like it when developers do this, but it is what it is. These were not in there though, so the non-door based grates, but all the doors and stuff were absolutely in the other ones. This was also not in there, so the sort of top for the doors. Oh, actually this door was not in there either. So this is going to be split up into 3 pieces. Again, same sort of minor gripe that I had where it's like, you could just give me the 3 pieces. But again, grander scheme of things, like with the other ones, I'm not going to sleep over that. Let's go into floors here. So a few different things for floors to give you variety. So you got some rubble pieces, stuff like that, which I like to see all of that. The debris is always really nice because you can make it, you can make each area feel unique with that sort of stuff. I'm going to turn these guys because these guys are the broken floors. So allowing drop down points and stuff like that. More broken floors. Center piece that would go into where, if in the real world, where the piece that broke out of broken floors. A couple of those actually. Excuse me. So yeah, just good debris in my opinion. All right, so let's go from the floors to the fortress walls. Let's do this. Go down each one of these, I guess, this way. Not entirely sure why they separated, they as in the developer of this asset, separated these out into separate subfolders, but I'm sure they had a reason. So then you've got the actual, like a couple of these we saw already, but some of these like the T1s and whatnot we have not. This one we didn't, so there's a handful of these that we have not seen yet. But I do think, again, as I said, I think these are well modularized. They're modularized in a very smart manner to allow for really good usage of, or really good options for making a bunch of different unique levels and stuff like that. So we got these guys. Some of these are like completed with the parts that are in the last two folders. Let's go through it real quick. I think this is maybe the only one that wasn't, and that you couldn't make with the other pieces. So actually, I guess you probably could. Actually, willing to bet it's just the long stair, the short stair, one of the like center pieces, and then one of the end pieces. Yep, sure is. Okay. But so that sort of lends to my point about it being a very smart modular, like being done very smart from a modularization standpoint. Like you can build these more complex structures based off of the parts that they give you. So let's look at the roofs. These are going to be the the stuff that you see on the outside roof wise. I always like to see damaged variants. I always think that's a really good foresight on the developer's part when they do that sort of stuff. So that's it for the roofs. Plenty of options there, and we're getting. All right. Actually, yeah. So they're going to be like the corner bricks and stuff like that, again for giving more like uniqueness to your areas. That's nice. That, spiral staircase. That's a cool asset. All right. Let's go into here and just kind of look at what they have in here for the individual parts. Yeah, so you can let's turn it here. All right, Ruin Towers. Let's go into the ruins. So these are going to be pre-fucked up, pre-damaged buildings. Just makes building out your levels sometimes easier to have some of this stuff pre-gen for you. Stairs, lots of different stair options. Maybe lots isn't the right word, but an adequate amount of stair options. Obviously, you can see. Actually, we're going to open this guy up here. Because there's obviously interiors in here, and I think it's important to always show stuff. There's not really any way to get into that interior, but it's still there. So when we first went into the overgrown ruins demo scene, this is where we came in. I went into both those sides. Then we kind of backtracked on the reverse on the reverse path when we did that, so we could sort of see the other one. But yeah, I think that, I've said it a few times, but I think that it just, the way that they modularize this is really, really, really good. They did a very smart job on, the way that they modularized stuff out and made it sort of more. It's just them without colliders on it. Made it more of a flexible build system, I guess, with the prefabs that they have. So these are all trim pieces. So base quote unquote boards and stuff like that. Let's do. So as always, you've got all of the fun archway walls and stuff like that. You see this a lot in a lot of different assets that do, interiors and stuff. And you've got, so these would be the connectors for the archway walls. Oh, excuse me, my goodness. You've got sort of a cistern area where you could bring them together. So the arch beams. Oh wait, did we just? Oh, so these are So these are going to be the same. You've got the wall thickness and stuff like that here. So that's always fun. Or the thicker walls and arches, I should say. I said wall thickness. You've got the thicker walls and arches and stuff like that. So again, making it easy to, rapidly build out levels, but also the ability to keep them unique. So these are all ones that we've already seen, but just thicker. So here, actually, this is a good example to sort of point it out. If you remember, with these pieces, there were typically 2 layers, right? So there's a top layer and a bottom layer. Obviously, we're dealing with like 3 layers on this one now. So, yeah, thicker for sure. All right, let's go through these guys. So. Actually, I'm going to turn this one too so you can see this one. Alright. So we're on the walls now. The walls. Which obviously also includes the ceilings and floors and stuff. Or it includes some ceilings and floors, I guess. Because there was a different folder for that too. You've got a lot of, again, the battle damaged walls. I really like to see that. Just the amount of variance you have with each one of these sections, I do think is very, very well done. Something that I like to see. All right, and then last one, wooden objects. So these are just going to be more accent pieces that are, in this case, wood and not, quote unquote brick. So cool little spiked ramparts there. So fencing and stuff like that. Watchtowers, wooden watchtowers to tack on there. Like I said, there's a lot of scaffolding. You have a lot of options for scaffolding in here, which I really like to see. You've got broken pieces of wood and stuff like that. Broken pieces of scaffolding. A wooden staircase, and then you've got a bunch of beams here. So that is it for the prefabs folder. Like I said, I do think that this is, a worthwhile asset. The quality on it is good. The modularization on it is really good, and I think that alone warrants the price. But yeah, Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see everybody in the next one.